Hi students, welcome to this video session. Of course, you know my name already. In this video session, we shall discuss symbolic logic. They will give us logical statements and we will write it in symbols. That is called symbolic logic. There are some mathematicians that are notable in the field of logic. Who is this guy? Aristotle. Aristotle is a Greek philosopher. Aristotelian logic or syllogism, theory of syllogism, syllogistic arguments. Some textbooks credit him as the father of logic. What of this guy? Augustus De Morgan. Augustus De Morgan is a British mathematician. And you see his works here, De Morgan's laws. De Morgan's laws, part of the laws of logic is De Morgan's laws. You also have De Morgan's laws in sets, laws of sets. Can you guess who the next person is? Leonhard Euler. He's a Swiss mathematician, and you see his works even in physics, in several of the sciences. We have Euler diagrams when we do syllogistic arguments. You see Euler diagrams. Next person is George Boole. You see the Boolean algebra, the 0 and 1 that you see in Boolean algebra, in binary notation, which is used as in the design of electronics. Okay, you look at your switch in computers, in other electronics, 0 is off and 1 is on. You see applications of logic in circuits, logic circuits. Okay, that's George Boole, Boolean algebra. He's an English mathematician. What of this other guy? Venn diagrams. You see Venn diagrams in sets and logic. Venn diagrams discovered by John Venn, named after John Venn, an English mathematician. So, can you guess the next person? Can you guess? Okay, wait a minute now. If we don't have teachers to teach what these folks have done, right? Who's gonna teach it then? So I think we need to give credit to teachers. Anyway, somebody is also working on discovering something, just like these folks did. Okay. So who do you think the next person is? Who do you think? Samuel Chukwuemeka. I remain Samuel Chukwuemeka, aka Sam Done for Peace, who will discuss some of the works of these mathematicians. Okay. And this is my quote as usual: the joy of a teacher is the success of his students. All right. In this video, we will write logical statements in symbolic form. Please, before you view this video, it is highly recommended that you view the videos we did. The first one, Logic and Truth Tables Part 1, Introduction and Concepts. Logic and Truth Tables Part 2, Logical Connectives. It is highly recommended that you view these videos prior to viewing this. Let's look at some of the logical connectives that we discussed in Part 2. We have the negation, The negation is either the tilde, 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 tilde. That's this symbol, tilde, tilde sign, or you have it as this not. Okay, the not symbol or the tilde sign is in your keyboard. Is on your keyboard. That is the negation. And we can say not. It is false that. It is not the case that. It is not true that. Those are some of the terms we use when we talk about negation. The next one is the conjunction, the and symbol. Okay, logical operators, the and symbol. Now you can also use but. But is also and conjunction. Okay, we see and but. So when we see but, we know that it's conjunction as well. Next one is the disjunction. Disjunction, and that is the symbol, the or symbol, or. Right? And then we have the exclusive disjunction. You have the symbol for disjunction and you have an underline under it. That is exclusive disjunction. XOR. For those of you in computer science, you see some textbooks will write it as a XOR. Okay, uppercase X, then uppercase O, uppercase R. XOR. Exclusive disjunction. And the terms we use here are either or, but not but. We kind of use it together for this exclusive disjunction. We use it together. Now, let's look at the very important one, the conditional implication. This is very, very important. Okay, now let's see all the terms that are kind of used there. This is the arrow symbol. The arrow symbol. Okay, so we will look at this. Then I would like you to do the converse. Okay, P implies Q. Then I'm gonna give you the terms here, and then I would like you to write what this will now be. The converse of it. I would like you to write what it will be. So P, this, if you see P arrow Q, it could mean P implies Q. If P, then Q. P is sufficient for Q. Q is necessary for P. P only if Q. Q if P. Only if Q, P. Q whenever P. So you see, you have a lot of terms, right? And for you to know this symbolic logic well, you need to know the terms that you could use. So can you write this now? Q implies P. Yeah, so you know, I will give you this. Then I would want you to be able to write it like this. Yeah. So you see, if we take some time and pause this video and try to write this converse. Okay. So we see here, this means Q implies P. If Q, then P, right? We are just interchanging it. We are just interchanging P and Q. That is what we are doing here. Q is sufficient for P. P is necessary for Q. Now, I want you to pay attention in these. I want you to pay attention in these too. It's kind of confusing. Remember that this means that Q is sufficient for P. And then P is necessary for Q. Okay, just take note of that. Q only if P. Now, another one that is confusing is this. P if Q, just like you have here, Q if P. Take note of this, is confusing. Q if P. Now, this means P only if Q. And then this means Q if P. If it is P arrow Q, it is Q if P. If it is Q arrow P, it is P if Q. Okay, take note of that. Then only if P, Q. P whenever Q. So that is the conditional. Now let's go to the biconditional. P double arrow Q. This means P if and only if Q. P is necessary and sufficient for Q. If P, then Q. If Q, then P. What would this one be? What will it be? This should be straightforward. This is Q if and only if P. Q is necessary and sufficient for P. If Q, then P. If P, then Q. So those are the logical connectives that we talked about in previous videos. Now, let's go to the main work. Write in symbolic logic. So we have three statements here. P, we are humans. Q, we love our neighbors. R, we live in peace. Right? Let's get started. So, how are you going to write this first statement? This first proposition? We are humans and we love our neighbors. All right, so let's look at this now. You see this? We are humans, right? P. Then you see this here. And, right? You see this and the conjunction. And then you see this here. We love our neighbors. So, P, we are humans. And, remember, the and. Okay, the and is what? The conjunction. The conjunction, that's this. And, okay? So, and then we love our neighbors, Q. So this is the way you do it. That is the answer here. P and Q. So you will be given this. We are humans and we love our neighbors. You'll be given these three statements, right? You'll be given these three logical statements. And then you will be given statements to now write in symbols. That is symbolic logic. Yes. And then, of course, I would expect that when you're giving the symbols as well, you can write them as statements. I would expect that as well. Okay? So, the expectations here is this. You're giving the statements, you write them in symbols. And then, if you're giving the symbols, you write them in statements. Right? So, this is the first one. Now, please go ahead and write this down because we have a lot of statements to write in symbols. Okay? So, this is the way it works. P and Q. Next one. We live in peace or we love our neighbors. So you see, we live in peace is a arrow. Or is the disjunction. Okay? Arrow. Or we love our neighbors. Q. So that's the way we're going to do it. Okay? Arrow or Q. That's it. Arrow or Q. That's because this is R or Q. Next one, we live in peace, but we are not humans. Now, if you go back here, that is why I asked you to write this, so that you know we will now be looking at it. So we live in peace. R, bet is the and. Now we are not humans. That means not P. Negation of P, not P. That is what it means, not P. Okay? We live in peace. R. Bet is the conjunction too. Remember we said and bet can be used for conjunction. We are not humans. Not is the negation here. Not P. Because we are humans is P. We are not humans is not P. We do not love our neighbors, so we have not Q. Or we do not live in peace, not R. Not Q or not R. Now, either we are humans or we live in peace, but not both. Remember, we said in the logical connectives exclusive disjunction, either or but not both. Either or but not both. You see this? I also want you to write, kind of take notes of all this so that you can follow with the video. Either or. Either we are humans or we live in peace, but not both. Okay, you see, either or, but not both. That is exclusive or, XOR, exclusive or, XOR. That is what it means. Either we do not live in peace, or we love our neighbors, but not both. So I would like you to be, kind of, this is straightforward, but sometimes it's confusing, okay? Sometimes. So you really have to take it step by step. So if you say either or, but not but, it's exclusive disjunction. So what would this one be? We live in peace is R. So either we do not live in peace is not R. Or exclusive or, not R, exclusive or, Q. Okay? Not R, exclusive or, Q. Now, this is where you will really need to be extra careful. Conditional statements are something else. Honestly, you have to be careful. Remember the ones I told you, Q if P, P if Q. Okay. We're going to take, this video we shall look at several varieties so that you can you can have a good knowledge of it. Now, I would highly recommend that you do it first on your own, write it, do it on your own, then see whether you got the answer right. That is what I will recommend. That if I come here, you pause it, try to do it on your own, and then see whether we get the same thing. If we love our neighbors, then we live in peace. If P, then Q. If P, then Q. But in this case, we love our neighbors is a Q, right? Then we live in peace is R. So this will be if Q, then R. If Q, then R. I try to, because this conditional is a little bit confusing, I try to write this second step. I try to do that before I now write the symbol. So just like we have a P arrow Q means if P then Q. So if you have if Q then arrow, it will be Q arrow arrow. Q arrow arrow. Q arrow arrow. Because it is if Q then arrow. Next one, not loving our neighbors implies not being humans. Remember, P arrow Q means P implies Q, right? So this one is not loving our neighbors implies not being humans. So we have a negation here, and then we have the implication implies, and then we have another negation, okay? So not Q implies not P. Excuse me. Not Q implies not P. That is, you now have it that way. Not Q implies not P. Next one. We live in peace if we love our neighbors. We live in peace if we love our neighbors. So this is a arrow. If Q. Arrow. If Q. Okay, now remember what this is. Remember what it will be. What do you think this will be? Is it arrow, arrow, Q? Or is it Q, arrow, arrow? What will it be? It should be Q, arrow, arrow. Q, arrow, arrow. We live in peace only if we love our neighbors. We live in peace only if we love our neighbors. So this is a, we live in peace is a arrow. Arrow only if we love our neighbors. Arrow only if Q. Now in this case, is it going to be arrow, arrow, Q? Or is it going to be Q, arrow, arrow? It's going to be arrow, arrow, Q. Now you have to know the difference between arrow if Q and arrow only if Q. If you have an arrow if Q, then it will be Q arrow arrow. But if you have an arrow only if Q, then it will be arrow arrow Q. Just take note of that. Okay, just take note of that. Only if we love our neighbors do we live in peace. This is a only if Q, arrow. Only if Q, comma, arrow. So this will be arrow, arrow, Q. We do not live in peace whenever we do not love our neighbors. We do not live in peace whenever we do not love our neighbors. So you look at, first of all, this second step is important. This second step is important, especially in this conditional statement. Okay, it is important you write the second step, because if you write the second step, then you compare it. You compare to the ones we have. We do not live in peace means is a negation now. We live in peace is arrow. We do not live in peace is not arrow. Then not arrow whenever we do not love our neighbors. We love our neighbors is a Q. We do not love our neighbors is not Q. So you have not arrow whenever not Q. This second step is important. When you now have this second step, not arrow whenever not Q, you go back here, you go to the logical connectives, and you look for Q. This is P arrow Q means Q whenever P. P arrow Q means Q whenever P. So when you come and see, when you see the not R whenever not Q, you will now know that this is a not Q, arrow, not arrow. You compare. Next one. Loving our neighbors is necessary for living in peace. Remember what I told you? I asked you, P is sufficient for Q, is P arrow Q, or Q is necessary for P. Q is necessary for P, is also P arrow Q. Now, loving our neighbors is necessary for living in peace. So, Q is necessary for arrow. Would this be Q arrow arrow, or will it be arrow arrow Q? Indeed, it will be arrow arrow Q. Arrow arrow Q. Next one, not living in peace is sufficient for being humans. You write, the second step is very important. Very, very important. So this means not arrow is sufficient for P. And you have it as not arrow, arrow P. We are humans if and only if we love our neighbors. So this is now biconditional. Biconditional. So, you know, I had to write this second step for conditional because conditional is a bit confusing of all of them. So that's why I wrote the second step. Now you are welcome to write the second step all the time. Look at what I mean by second step. This. You are welcome to write it all the time. But you know, I had to write it just for the conditional. So because conditional is kind of confusing. But I think the rest are straightforward. We are humans if and only if. This is a double arrow, biconditional. Biconditional. We are humans is P. P if and only if we love our neighbors. Q. P if and only if Q. So P double arrow Q. P double arrow Q. Loving our neighbors is necessary and sufficient for living in peace. Necessary and sufficient. Loving our neighbors is a Q. Is necessary and sufficient. Double arrow. Living in peace. Arrow. So Q double arrow arrow. Comprendez? Comprenez-vous? Okay. Now, let's look at this now. It is not true that we are humans and we love our neighbors. Okay. In this case, in this kind of, remember, we say if we go back to these logical connectives, we notice that negation is also can be say we can write it is false that it is not the case that it is not true that. Now I wanna explain something important to you. Whenever you have like it is not the case that, it is not true that, it is false that, right? If you have it at the beginning of the sentence, then most likely you're gonna start it with a negation. Most likely. You're gonna put a negation first. Now, if you have we do not, you know, then that one you could do that. Let's look at an example. So I'll kind of explain it to you so you understand. Okay, if you have this now, it is not true that we are humans and we love our neighbors. So here, it is not true that you started with a negation. And then we are humans is a P. And is this. We love our neighbors is a Q. You see that? But look, the thing now is it's not gonna be not P and Q, no. You now have to put this like this. That's the way we do it. That is the way we do it. Especially if you have this starting off first. If it's this beginning the sentence, you've got to put it like this. Okay. Now I know that some of you will ask me, and I also talked about it here in this video. You might now ask me, okay, what if I want to write this? What if I want to write this? How am I going to say it? Okay, this is the way you say it. P is we are humans. So you not P means we are not humans. And we love our neighbors. So do you see the difference? Do you see what I'm talking about? If you have this at the beginning, most likely it's going to include everybody. If you have this at the beginning, most likely it will include everybody. You have to put parentheses and put the not here. But if you have it like this, okay, then you will now say we do not. Okay, we here P is we are humans. Then it will now be we are not humans and we love our neighbors. That's the way it goes. So please take note of that. Now this one also, because you have the first one, it is false that we have to put the negation and put parentheses. Okay? It is false that is this. Put the negation. Then parentheses. We do not love our neighbors. That's now the not Q. Or is this. We do not live in peace, not R. But whenever you see this starting first, it is not true, beginning first, or it is false, or it is not the case that you put this not first and put parentheses. We love our neighbors and we live in peace, or we are humans. Now, okay, this is another area that you need to pay attention. In this kind of case, the comma is very important. The comma is very, very important because it tells you where you will put the parentheses. We don't just write this like this. I know some of you will write it like this. Q and R or P. Well, this will give you partial credit. Okay? But because of this comma right here, we have to put this in parentheses. And we are going to do more problems. By the time we finish all this, we will do a lot of varieties. And by the time we finish it, trust me, you will understand it. Yeah, and if you don't understand it, you just contact me. So this is Q and R or P. Next one, if we do not live in peace or we do not love our neighbors, you see where this one, you see, and you see this comma. This comma is important. Then we are not humans. Okay, but this is an implication though. This is an implication also. If, then this, then we are not humans. You see that? So, if we do not live in peace or we do not love our neighbors, so you see, we do not live in peace. We live in peace is R, right? So we do not live in peace is not R. Or we do not love our neighbors. If P, then Q. Or we do not love our neighbors is Q is we love our neighbors. We do not love our neighbors is not Q. Then arrow, arrow, not R, not P, because P is we are humans. So not P is we are not humans. Okay? And you have it this way. And you see, you put your, because of this comma also, you put your parentheses. So this comma is kind of important in this kind of statements, here. We do not, if we do not live in peace, that is if then, of course, the if then tells you that is implication. If P, then Q. Okay? So we do not live in peace is not R, or we do not love our neighbors, not Q. And put it in parentheses because of this comma. Then implies not P. If we love our neighbors, so love our neighbors is Q. If Q, then P. Now, but the comma is now right here. Do you see what I'm talking about? The comma is now right here. So that tells you that Q is the only one that will be on the left of the arrow. Q arrow. Okay, if we love our neighbors. So because of this comma here, the Q is the only one. Now you see, in the other case, this is that the comma is right here. So that's why these two are here on the left of this arrow. Okay, but in this case, the comma is here. So Q is the only one that is gonna be here. So please, you take note of that. Okay, so what you got here is Q implies, and then you now put this arrow or not P. Yeah. So you look at that. You look at it also on the comma. If we live in peace, then we are humans if and only if we love our neighbors. You've got to be careful here. In this case, we have the if and then. We have the implication. Then we have if and only if on the second part. Now, if we live in peace, that's only one. We live in peace is R. So R is only going to be on the left only. But on the right of the arrow, we will have we are humans, which is a P, and then we have if and only if is double arrow, and then we love our neighbors is Q. And then you have to put that in parentheses on the right. Okay, so you have something like this. Next one, it is not the case that if we are humans, then we do not live in peace. So, like I said, it is not the case that if we are humans, then we do not live in peace. You see that this will come like it is not the case. Like I mentioned earlier, you have to put the not, and of course, you put parentheses. Anytime you see this first, you put not and you put parentheses. Then if P, then not R. So you have it that way. If it is false, now this one is not the case as this. Can you look at this, the difference between these two? This is, it is not the case. So this means this starts first and you put parentheses. But this case is if it is false. So you have the not inside the if. It is that. So this will not apply to that. Okay? If it is false that we are humans and we do not love our neighbors, then we do not live in peace. Remember, this is there is comma here. There is comma here. Okay? So you have to know, you have to be careful. That comma is where the arrow, you know, we have two here. We are humans is a P, and we do not love our neighbors. That is not Q. So you have to put, and this is if it is false. That so you put the not P and not Q, then arrow not arrow. Okay. Because of this will not have it like this. because this didn't say it is not the case, or this did not say it is false that. So we won't have the parenthesis covering everybody. No. The parenthesis is only covering the first part, the what we call the antecedent or the precedent. The antecedent or the precedent or the premise. Okay? And this is called the consequent or the conclusion. We talked about it in previous videos. If we do not live in peace, then it is not true that we are humans and we love our neighbors. The same thing applies here. Okay? Of course, you have the arrow, but you only have one statement here. We live in peace is arrow. So we do not live in peace is not arrow. Then arrow. Then of course you now have the negation that will cover everybody on the consequent or the conclusion. So you have it this way. If we do not live in peace, then we are not humans and we love our neighbors. You have it that way. These are all conditional statements. But if you look at this now, can you tell the difference between this and this? Do you see the difference between this and this? Because here, it is not true that, remember when we say it is not true that beginning the sentence, it is not true, it started the consequent. So you have it and you put, it covers everybody in the consequent. You put it and you put parentheses here. But here, then we are not humans and we love our neighbors. So we didn't have it is not true. So it won't cover everybody. This will just be this. We are not humans. B is we are humans. So do you see the difference between these two statements? Do you figure it out? Do you understand? Loving our neighbors is necessary and sufficient for living in peace if we are humans. Necessary and sufficient is the double arrow, biconditional. Biconditional. Right? Now, I had to put this second line because it's a little bit confusing. Now, this means loving our neighbors is Q, necessary and sufficient is biconditional, living in peace, R, if P. Remember, R, if P. Remember, P arrow Q is Q if P. Okay, so what would this one be now? Q double arrow, right? Is it gonna arrow if P? Is it gonna be P arrow R or arrow P? Right? So it's gonna be what? P arrow R. Just be careful about it, and then you just put parentheses. You put parentheses on it. P arrow R. Yeah. Just, the conditional, you have to be extra careful on the conditional. And if you want, you can write all of it in the second step. You can write the second step on all of it. In fact, that is what I would recommend if in your early stages, in this beginning stage where you're still learning it. Try to write the second step. Not living in peace is both necessary and sufficient for being humans if we do not love our neighbors. This is not living in peace is not arrow. Necessary and sufficient is the double arrow, biconditional. For being humans, P, if not Q. So what would this be? This would be, if you rewrite it, this is not arrow, double arrow, parenthesis, not Q, arrow P. You close the parenthesis. Okay. Next one. Sufficient conditions for not living in peace are being humans and not loving your neighbors. Wow. Look at this now. Sufficient conditions for not living in peace are being humans and not loving your neighbors. If you look at this now, look at this statement. Sometimes you might need to rephrase it. You know, if you look at this statement, sufficient conditions for not living in peace are being humans and not loving your neighbors. So sometimes this kind of question will kind of throw you back, you know, because it didn't start the way you wanted it to start. Okay, it didn't start the way you wanted it to start. Can you do something about it? Yes, you can do something about it. Now, you can rephrase the question. You can say that this is a sufficient conditions for not living in peace are being humans and not loving your neighbors. Okay, you can rephrase the question like this. Not living in peace, you can rephrase the question like this. Being humans and not loving your neighbors are sufficient conditions for not living in peace. Being humans and not loving your neighbors are sufficient conditions for not living in peace. And then it can make sense to you. You can rephrase it to make sense to you so that you can now write it. Now, remember, in the conditional statement, we say that P is sufficient for Q. Q is necessary for P. So in this case, you see that being humans, that is P. Not loving your neighbors is not Q. Are sufficient for not R. P and not Q are sufficient for not R. And in the conditional connective that we discussed, P arrow Q means P is sufficient for Q. Okay? So this you put this in parentheses, the antecedent. So this is sufficient for not R. Okay? This case is, it is not true that sufficient conditions for not living in peace are being humans and not loving your neighbors. You still rephrase this so that it makes sense to you. Rephrase it, you know, because this came first. This came first, which means everybody will be what? Everybody will be not negated, and you put parentheses. Yeah, but this is still didn't come first, so you want to rephrase it. So this was just the negation of what we did. Okay, this is just the negation of what we just did. You have to negate everybody. So you now have this double arrow here because it started with it is not true. What we just did was this, then here, because it started with it is not true, you now have it like this. Next one, it is not the case that necessary conditions for living in peace are being humans and loving your neighbors. This one still came first, but because these necessary conditions for living in peace are being humans and loving your neighbors, you see that you might want to rephrase these. You might want to rephrase these. You might want to rephrase it. And if you do, what will you have? It is not the case that being humans and loving your neighbors are necessary conditions for living in peace. And you negate everybody. P and Q are necessary for R. Remember, okay, arrow will come first. Arrow will be the antecedent. Just like we said, P arrow Q means P is sufficient for Q. Q is necessary for P. So Q is necessary for P is P arrow Q. So P and Q are necessary for R means arrow, you put this in parentheses, P and Q. Now, because because it is not the case came first, you have to negate everybody. Do you understand? I hope you do. Next one, necessary conditions for living in peace are being humans and loving your neighbors. That is what we just did, the negation of that. So we have to rephrase this as well. Being humans and loving your neighbors are necessary conditions for living in peace. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that? Being humans is P and loving your neighbors Q. P and Q are necessary for R. So Q is necessary for P is P arrow Q. P and Q are necessary for R should be arrow P and Q. Put the P and Q in parentheses. Arrow P and Q. Okay, so this is, and these are the references. Thank you for listening to this video presentation. I hope you learned something. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Okay, feel free to ask me. Sometimes I kind of shows these three statements. We are humans, we love our neighbors, we live in peace. Sometimes I just ask myself, and my history folks can answer this question. Is there any time period, okay, in the history of man, has there ever been a time period or periods that human beings have lived in peace?